A naked man covers one eye as if trying to unsee his fate. His other eye is wide with terror. Demons coil around his legs, their claws sinking into his flesh, dragging him down into darkness. Above him, a massive figure twists in the sky, arm raised, not in blessing, but in judgment. In the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo has painted the end of the world, and it is terrifying. According to legend, when Pope Paul III first gazed up at this fresco, he fell to his knees and whispered, "O Lord, charge me not with my sins when you come on the day of judgment." This is The Last Judgment, a painting so shocking and mysterious that it rattled the faith of those who first beheld it. In this video, we will uncover the hidden meanings and dark secrets behind Michelangelo's Last Judgment. Why did this masterpiece leave Renaissance viewers in awe and horror? What secret self-portrait did Michelangelo hide in the swirling chaos? And why did the Vatican once fear this painting was too dangerous for faithful eyes? Hang on as we step into the Sistine Chapel and reveal the chilling truth buried in the paint. A truth that Michelangelo hid here in plain sight for those brave enough to look. October 31st, 1541. All of Rome stops in its tracks as the veil drops from the Sistine Chapel's altar wall. Michelangelo's latest fresco is finally unveiled after 5 years of feverish work. The Rome of 1541 is scarred by turmoil. Just 14 years earlier, the city was brutally sacked by the armies of Emperor Charles V. Michelangelo, now in his 60s, feels the weight of this dark era. The optimism of his youth, of the High Renaissance, has given way to something more brooding and apocalyptic. Michelangelo's The Last Judgment covers the altar wall of the Sistine Chapel. Over 300 muscular figures swirl around the dominant figure of Christ, creating a chaotic vision of the Second Coming. The saved struggle upward on Christ's right, while the damned are hurled down on his left. From floor to ceiling, heaven and hell collide in a teeming mass of humanity. This was not just another fresco, it was a confrontation. When Pope Paul III and his entourage first saw the completed work, silence fell across the chapel. The Pope, overcome, uttered that plea for mercy on Judgment Day. Viewers gazed up at Michelangelo's technical brilliance, the daring poses, the foreshortening that made figures seem to leap out of the wall, but also trembled at the raw emotion on display. No one had seen a religious image so powerful and so frightening before. At the center of the fresco, Christ looms in divine fury. But this is not the gentle, haloed Christ of earlier Renaissance art. Michelangelo's Christ is a muscular giant, modeled on the idealized physique of classical heroes. Clean-shaven and monumental, Christ twists his body in a sweeping gesture. With his right arm, he lifts up the righteous. With his left, he damns the sinners, a single grand motion that decides the destiny of all humanity. His face is impassive, almost detached, yet there is a sense of inexorable wrath in his movement. Nestled beside him is the Virgin Mary, drawn close to her Son. In this moment of final judgment, even Mary, usually depicted pleading for mercy on behalf of souls, can no longer intervene. The time for mercy has passed. Now there is only justice. Surrounding Christ and Mary is a turbulent cloud of saints and martyrs. These figures, all nude or loosely draped, form an honor guard of the blessed, yet many of their faces show anxiety and awe. St. Peter clutches the keys of heaven. St. Lawrence carries the iron gridiron on which he was roasted. St. Catherine grasps the broken wheel that tore her flesh. Just below Christ, St. Bartholomew sits on a cloud, displaying a gruesome attribute, his own flayed skin. Bartholomew, who was skinned alive, holds the empty husk of his body in one hand and a knife in the other. In Michelangelo's rendition, this sagging skin bears a haunting face. The self-portrait of Michelangelo himself. The artist painted his own likeness onto Bartholomew's flayed flesh, eyes vacant, mouth agape. An image of Michelangelo literally unskinned. It dangles precariously from Bartholomew's grip, as if the saint might drop it at any moment. Art historians have noted how lightly Bartholomew holds the skin, its edges almost slipping through his fingers. Why would Michelangelo portray himself this way, as a discarded shell caught between salvation and damnation? Perhaps it was a personal confession of guilt or fear. In his later years, Michelangelo's letters and poems spoke of his soul's torment and longing for grace. Here, he offers his own flesh as if to say, "I am no better than the damned. Lord, have mercy on me." It's a hidden plea painted in plain sight. For centuries, viewers didn't immediately recognize that face on the flayed skin. But once you see it, it's hard to forget. From the top of the fresco to the bottom, Michelangelo depicts a cosmic whirlpool of judgment. At Christ's feet, a pair of mighty wingless angels sound long golden trumpets. Their cheeks bulge with effort as they unleash the apocalyptic call, awaking the dead from their graves. On the left side of the fresco, Christ's right hand, the resurrection of the dead unfolds. Along the bottom left, ghostly figures emerge from cracked tombs and earthen graves. Some ascend slowly, as if unsure of their fate, while others are lifted by angels from above. In one striking detail, a strong angel reaches down and pulls up a pair of souls clinging to a rosary, literally hauling them toward heaven by their prayer beads. It's an image of salvation through prayer and faith, a direct jab at the Protestant idea that faith alone suffices. Michelangelo shows that prayer and good works help lift souls to God. Nearby, another soul is caught in a tug of war between an angel and a snarling demon. The angel has the man's arm, the demon has his leg. The struggle is fierce, illustrating how not even the dead escape the battle between hope and despair. Now cast your eyes to the right side of the fresco. Here the tone shifts dramatically. This is the domain of the damned. Beneath Christ's raised left arm, chaos reigns. Souls are being violently pulled down by demons into the depths of hell. Some sinners plummet headfirst, limbs flailing, their mouths open in silent screams. Others desperately cling to the clouds or to other figures above, unwilling to face their fate. But even heaven's angels become enforcers of doom here, pushing the damned away, punching them down into the abyss. One soul is both pummeled by an angel and dragged by a demon at the same time. Truly no escape for the wicked. Among the damned is a figure often called the damned man. He's in the lower right quadrant, a naked man caught in the moment of absolute despair. A demon clutches him from below, biting into his leg. Another demon wraps around his waist. The man's face is a portrait of psychological agony. One hand claws at his own head, covering one eye in horror, while the other eye stares wide, forcing himself to witness the horror unfolding. At the very bottom of the fresco, Michelangelo brings hell to life with references not only to the Bible, but to medieval imagination and even classical mythology. The center bottom of the wall shows a dark sea or abyss. Here, Charon, the ferryman of the dead from Dante Alighieri's Inferno, rides a small boat. In a fury, Charon swings his oar as a weapon, driving the cowering souls off the boat and onto the shores of hell. Michelangelo, a learned man, freely blended pagan myth and Christian theology here, knowing his audience would catch the illusion. Waiting on hell's shore is a monstrous figure, Minos, one of the judges of the underworld in Dante's Inferno. Michelangelo paints Minos as a hulking grayish demon with donkey's ears and a coiled serpent wrapped around his body. But the face of Minos is no random devil. It was recognized instantly by Michelangelo's contemporaries as a caricature of Biagio da Cesena, a high-ranking Vatican official who had publicly scorned the fresco. Biagio had been horrified by the fresco's parade of naked flesh. He sniffed that The Last Judgment was more fit for the public baths and taverns than a papal chapel. Upon hearing this insult, Michelangelo took swift revenge with his paintbrush. He gave Biagio's face to the devil judge Minos, complete with ass's ears to signify foolishness. Biagio certainly noticed. He begged the Pope to have it removed. Pope Paul III, who had a sense of humor about it, quipped that his authority did not extend to hell, so the portrait would have to remain. The Last Judgment did not quietly take its place among the Vatican's holy images. It exploded like a bomb. From the day of its unveiling, this fresco was as controversial as it was awe-inspiring. Many viewers, especially religious authorities, were deeply unsettled by what they saw. Here was a sacred scene painted in the Pope's own chapel, filled with nude bodies. To 16th century eyes, it was an unholy amount of exposed flesh. Yes, Michelangelo had painted nudes on the Sistine ceiling too, but this was different. These were aggressive, contorted figures, displaying buttocks and genitals at eye level in a papal chapel. Michelangelo even included mythological figures, which purists might view as mixing pagan elements into a Christian vision. Indeed, a few churchmen whispered that the fresco carried a whiff of heresy, or at least blasphemy. Pope Paul IV reportedly felt that Michelangelo's work implied people could approach God directly without church intercession. He interpreted the prominence of Christ and the saints and the relative smallness of the church's traditional role as an intentional slight, a hint of Protestant thinking. So incensed was Paul IV that he temporarily suspended Michelangelo's pension over it. Such was the power of this painting, it could even scare a pope. By the early 1560s, a decree was issued. Paintings had to uphold modesty and decency, especially in holy places. Michelangelo's Last Judgment, by then 2 decades old, was target number 1 for reform. Michelangelo died in 1564, still staunchly proud of his work and unwilling to alter it. But barely had he been laid to rest when the censors descended upon his masterpiece. That same year, the church authorities decided that the fresco's rampant nudity must be tamed. The task fell to Daniele da Volterra, Michelangelo's former pupil and friend, a talented artist in his own right. Daniele, undoubtedly reluctant but obedient, went up on the scaffold with paint and brushes. He strategically added draperies and loincloths to cover the exposed private parts of dozens of figures. Groins and buttocks of saints and sinners alike were hidden under painted swaths of cloth. By the 20th century, the Last Judgment you saw in the Sistine Chapel was a much censored version of Michelangelo's original. Remarkably, the fresco almost met a worse fate. There were moments of extreme zeal when some in the church thought the entire painting was sacrilegious. One account notes that Pope Paul IV wanted the whole work demolished and repainted more decorously. The idea of destroying Michelangelo's masterpiece, unthinkable today, was very real at the time, prevented only by a cooler-headed successor who opted for the more moderate solution of covering the nudes. The Last Judgment survived, but under a dim veil, darkened by candle soot and time, disfigured by clumsy loincloths. After many centuries, the Vatican undertook a massive project to restore the Sistine Chapel's frescoes, including the Last Judgment. From 1980 to 1994, experts carefully cleaned the ceiling and then the great altar wall. The restorers also decided to remove many of the censorship draperies that had been added. A large part of Michelangelo's nudes were uncovered once more. For the first time in over 4 centuries, people could see the Last Judgment almost exactly as Michelangelo intended. Why does the Last Judgment grip us so? Why call it the most terrifying painting in the Vatican? Because even after 500 years, it strikes a primordial chord in our hearts. Michelangelo managed to put on a wall the deepest fears of the human soul: fear of punishment, of divine wrath, of the unknown fate that awaits us after death. Stand in the Sistine Chapel today, surrounded by throngs of tourists, and look at the altar wall. The painting dominates the space. Its figures are larger than life, swirling in a vortex of tension. The Vatican, for all its treasures, has no shortage of splendid art, but much of it is calming, uplifting, triumphant. Michelangelo's Last Judgment is different. It's as dark as it is radiant. In Michelangelo's vision, the Last Judgment isn't just a biblical prophecy, it's an existential mirror. The painting asks uncomfortable questions. If this were your final moment, where would you stand? Among the saved reaching for the light, or among the damned, dragged by your demons? Michelangelo doesn't give easy answers.